When it comes to the topic of truly growing wealth for generations, let me ask you a personal question. Let's say your rich uncle dies, God rest his soul, and leaves you a nice chunk of change, and like Scrooge McDuck, suddenly you're swimming in a pool of gold coins. After the initial shock and awe wears off, the question I have for you is this: will you think of yourself as a lottery winner or as a steward? Whether one plays the lottery and cashes in that lucky winning ticket, or starts a business, or buys property on a corner that Costco wants to move in on someday, or purchases a home in an urban space right before a reclamation project, there are all sorts of ways that people experience and are affected by luck. The question when this type of one-off event happens is, how will you behave with the money that you've received? Let me tell you what I know most of you would do. You'd pay cash for a new car, you might take a nicer vacation than you'd planned, and then you'd call us and say, Dave, I won / my aunt died, and we'll talk you into saving for retirement, funding the kids' college plans, and 9 out of 10 times we'll debate about whether you should pay off your house or not, because all of you hate having a mortgage. The point is, although you're not running off to Vegas to pop champagne corks with Mike Tyson, most of you will do something fun right off the bat. And that said, you're also responsible people who will buy a car, and you'll drive that for a long time, and you'll also use some of that money for memories with your family, trips that you want to go on, and saving for the financial priorities that you've set. And then there's that other 10% of you. You're that person who doesn't just get a new vehicle to drive, you get a new Bentley or Lamborghini to cruise in, like you're the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And you don't save a dime or pay down any debt, and in a few years, all that money, poof, it's gone. Then you come back into us, and I get to have the discussion that, that's most likely listening to you talk about how you just can't get your lifestyle expenses in line with your current income because you built a lifestyle that you couldn't support from the start. What we then see is that often you'll borrow money from your retirement accounts, assuring us that, oh yeah, I'll pay it back later. Typically, from my experience, this never occurs. For you, that 10%, unless you intentionally and painfully change your spending habits and actually create a budget, there's no hope for you in planning for a successful retirement. The good news is this, though. For the other 90% of you reading this, due to good decisions that you've made, you should be in great shape when it comes to retiring down the road. Whew, that was deep, wasn't it? So I'll repeat the original question now. Are you a lottery winner or are you a steward? This concept doesn't just extend to spending versus saving. This concept also applies to how you view the assets that you have. Now, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with telling us that you want your last check to bounce because you want to enjoy your remaining funds while you're alive. That's normal. And if your kids are at that point in life where they're maybe supporting themselves, then you've done a great job as a parent, and my hat's off to you. For those of you who do want the family business or assets to pass on to that next generation, and you're wondering the best way to go about that, well, that's so extensive that I can't address all the options here. But I can tell you that in working with hundreds of families, Alex, Brandon, and I have some really good ideas that can help you and address your unique situation. If you've been in our office and taken the quick tour, you might have seen on our walls the phrase, growing wealth for generations, which is also our tagline. But it's more than that. I go to work each day with the mindset that the decisions that I make and the conversations that I have are building the foundation for one of the 5 children, Alex's 2 boys and my 3, to eventually work their way into this business and represent the next generation at Family Financial Partners. In the same way, I know many of you, whether you own your own business or are squirreling away a bunch of money that you know you personally won't exhaust, you're doing so because you have something bigger in mind than sitting home like Scrooge McDuck with his pool of gold coins. So let me ask you another question. Are you talking to the next generation in your family about your work ethic, how you view money and the family business? You don't have to share all the numbers, but sometimes simply sharing a few parables that connect them to what you do for a living can go a long way in helping your heirs begin to think like good stewards. They watch you even when you don't think they're looking. Do you know someone who might benefit from knowing us or having a chat with our planning team? Well, there's no time like the present to make that introduction. We've got plenty of time to sit down and help them plan to grow their wealth for generations.